It was January 26th, 2026, at 2:47 a.m., when a dream so vivid and disturbing that I woke gasping for air drove me to the abandoned lakeside dock 3 miles from my home, and there, surrounded by the pre-dawn darkness where mist rose from the water like spirits ascending, where the temperature hovered just above freezing, and my breath created clouds that mingled with the fog, where the only sounds were the gentle lapping of water against weathered wood and the distant call of a loon echoing across the glassy surface. Jesus appeared before me with tears streaming down his face and spoke words that shattered everything I thought I understood. Jonathan, they think it's coincidence that brought them to this message. They think algorithms and chance guided their fingers to click, to watch, to listen. But I have marked them. I have called them by name. And what I'm about to show you about why they're seeing this right now, it will break your heart as it has broken mine. Not everyone who sees this message is meant to see it. Some will scroll past, some will ignore it. But you've been marked. Before I go any further, I need you to do something. Right now, in the comments below, I need you to type your prayer request. Don't think about it. Don't edit it. Just type what's truly on your heart. Because what Jesus showed me that night at the lake, what he's about to reveal to you, it has everything to do with why you're here, why you clicked on this video at this exact moment in your life. And I need to know you're serious. I need to know you're one of the marked ones. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. I'm not asking for numbers. I'm asking for true believers who are ready to hear what Jesus is actually saying in this hour. Because what I'm about to share with you over these next few nights, it's not for the casual Christian. It's not for the Sunday morning only crowd. It's for the remnant. It's for those who have been marked. Now, some of you know me from The Chosen, where I've had the profound honor of portraying Jesus Christ. But let me be absolutely clear. What I'm sharing with you now has nothing to do with acting. This isn't a script. This isn't a performance. What happened to me at that lakeside, what Jesus revealed to me in those early morning hours, it's more real than anything I've ever experienced on set, more real than any scene I've ever filmed. Let me take you back to that moment. The drive to the lake was a blur. I'd thrown on jeans and a heavy jacket, not even bothering to tie my boots properly. The roads were empty, streetlights creating pools of amber in the darkness. I didn't know why I was going to the lake. I just knew I had to. Something was pulling me there with an urgency I couldn't explain. When I arrived, I parked in the gravel lot and walked down the wooden pathway to the old dock. The boards creaked under my feet, and I could feel the cold seeping through my jacket. The lake stretched out before me, vast and dark, with mist rising from its surface in ghostly columns. The sky was still black, but there was that quality to the darkness that told me dawn was coming, still hidden but approaching. I stood at the end of the dock, my hands shoved in my pockets, watching my breath create clouds in the frigid air. The temperature had to be around 35 degrees, cold enough that my fingers were already going numb. The smell of the lake, that mixture of water, fish, and decaying leaves, filled my nostrils. In the distance, I could see the dark silhouettes of pine trees on the opposite shore, and above them, a few stubborn stars still fighting against the coming dawn. "Why am I here?" I whispered into the darkness, and that's when the mist began to change. I know how this sounds. Believe me, I know. But I'm telling you what happened. The mist that had been rising randomly from the water's surface began to move with purpose, swirling, gathering, forming a shape. And the temperature, it shifted. Not warmer, but different. The cold became less biting, more like a presence than a temperature. The light came next. Not from the sun, it was still at least an hour before sunrise. This light came from within the mist itself, a soft golden glow that grew brighter and brighter until I had to shield my eyes. And when I lowered my hand, he was there. Jesus stood on the water, just beyond the end of the dock, his feet creating small ripples on the surface. He was wearing simple robes, and his hair moved in a wind that I couldn't feel. But it was his face that undid me. Because he was weeping, I've portrayed Jesus weeping in The Chosen. I've studied the emotions, researched the historical context, worked with directors and theologians to get it right, but nothing prepared me for seeing the actual tears of Christ. They weren't quiet tears. His whole body shook with the weight of his grief. "Lord," my voice cracked. I fell to my knees on the dock, the wood biting into my kneecaps through my jeans. He stepped forward, and suddenly he was on the dock with me, his hand on my shoulder. His touch was warm, radiating heat through my jacket. The mist swirled around us, creating a cocoon of white that blocked out everything else: the lake, the trees, the world. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice was like nothing I can adequately describe. It was gentle and thunderous at once, intimate and vast. "Do you know why you're here?" "The dream," I managed. "I had a dream." "I sent the dream," he interrupted. "Just as I have sent this message to those who are watching right now. Just as I have orchestrated every click, every scroll, every seeming coincidence that brought them to this moment." He turned away from me, looking out over the water, though the mist was so thick now I couldn't see more than a few feet in any direction. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with emotion. "They think it's chance, Jonathan. They think YouTube algorithms brought them here. They think it was boredom, or curiosity, or random browsing. But I have called them by name. I have marked them for this hour, and they need to understand. There are no coincidences in my kingdom." "What do you mean, Lord?" I asked, still on my knees, my hands trembling. He turned back to me, and the intensity in his eyes made me want to look away, but I couldn't. "Every person who sees this message, they are at a crossroads, a moment of decision that will determine the trajectory of their entire life. And most of them don't even know it. They think they're just watching another video. They think they're just passing time. But I have brought them here because their window is closing." "Their window?" "Their window of opportunity. Their season of visitation. Their moment of divine intervention." He knelt down beside me, his hand still on my shoulder. "Jonathan, I need you to understand something. In the spiritual realm, there are appointed times, kairos moments, times when heaven touches earth, when the veil is thin, when I reach down and tap someone on the shoulder and say, 'Now, this is your moment. This is your chance.'" The mist around us began to shimmer, and suddenly I was seeing things, visions playing out in the white fog like scenes on a screen. I saw a woman sitting in her car in a parking lot, phone in her hand, tears streaming down her face. She was about to make a decision. I could sense it, a decision that would take her away from God's plan for her life. But then her phone screen changed, and this video appeared. My face. This message. "She thinks it's random," Jesus said softly. But I interrupted her scrolling. I brought her to this message at this exact moment because in 30 seconds she was going to send a text message that would destroy her marriage. The vision shifted. Now I saw a young man in a college dorm room late at night, laptop open. He was on the edge of giving up, on his faith, on his life, on everything. His hand hovered over the keyboard, about to type out a goodbye message, but something made him switch tabs, and there was this video. "He thinks it's coincidence," Jesus said, his voice breaking. "But I have been fighting for his attention for 3 months. This is his last chance, his final moment before he makes a choice he can't come back from." Vision after vision played out in the mist. A businessman about to commit fraud, a teenager about to run away from home, a pastor about to abandon his calling, a mother about to give up on her prodigal son, a father about to walk out on his family. Each one, at a critical moment, brought to this message. "Do you see?" Jesus asked, turning to me with those tear-filled eyes. "Do you see why I'm weeping? Because they think it's nothing. They think it's just another video. They don't realize I have moved heaven and earth to get them to this moment. I have orchestrated circumstances, shifted algorithms, planted thoughts, sent dreams, all to bring them here. And most of them will scroll past. Most of them will ignore it. Most of them will miss their moment." I was weeping now too, tears streaming down my face, my body shaking with the weight of what he was showing me. The cold air bit at my wet cheeks, but I didn't care. "Why me, Lord?" I asked. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you have a platform," he said. "Because people know your face. Because when you speak about me, they listen. At least some of them do. And I need you to tell them. I need you to make them understand that this is not a coincidence. Their presence here at this moment, watching this message, it's a divine appointment. It's a marked moment. It's me reaching through the noise and the chaos and the endless scroll of content and saying, 'Stop, look at me, listen to me. This is your moment.'" The mist began to thin slightly, and I could see the first hints of dawn on the horizon, a faint lightening of the sky from black to deep blue. The stars were fading. The loon called again, its cry echoing across the water. Jesus stood, pulling me to my feet. "Tomorrow night," he said, "come back here. There's more I need to show you, more they need to understand about why they're seeing this and what it means for their lives. Lord, tomorrow night, Jonathan, same time, I'll be waiting. And then he was gone. The mist dissipated rapidly, pulled away by a sudden breeze that came across the water. I stood alone on the dock, the sky growing lighter by the minute, my face wet with tears, my body trembling, not from cold, but from the weight of what I'd just experienced. I don't know how long I stood there, long enough for the sun to break the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, long enough for the lake to transform from a dark mirror to a shimmering expanse of light, long enough for early morning fishermen to arrive and give me curious looks as they prepared their boats. But I couldn't leave, not yet, because I knew with absolute certainty that what had just happened was real, that Jesus had actually appeared to me, that he had actually shown me these visions, and that I had a responsibility to share it, so I'm sharing it with you now. Listen to me carefully. If you're watching this, it's not an accident. It's not random. It's not the algorithm. It's Jesus. He has marked you. He has called you. He has brought you to this moment because you are at a crossroads, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you're facing a decision right now. Maybe you're on the edge of giving up. Maybe you're about to make a choice that will take you away from God's plan for your life. Maybe you've been running from his voice and this is him, one more time, reaching out to you. Or maybe you don't think you're in crisis. Maybe you think everything is fine, but Jesus is showing you this because there's something coming, a test, a trial, a moment of decision, and he's preparing you now. He's marking you now. He's calling you to attention now, before that moment arrives. I need you to understand something. There are seasons of visitation, times when God draws near, when he makes himself available in a special way, when he extends his hand and says, "Come." But those seasons don't last forever. There are windows that open and windows that close, and Jesus is telling me that for many of you watching this, your window is open right now, but it won't stay open indefinitely. That's why he's weeping, because he knows that some of you will ignore this. Some of you will scroll past. Some of you will watch this entire video and then go right back to your life as if nothing happened, and your window will close, your moment will pass, and you'll spend the rest of your life wondering why you feel so distant from God, why your prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling, why you can't seem to break through. It's because you missed your moment. Don't let that be you. In the comments right now, I need you to type, "I'm marked." Just those 2 words. I'm marked. Because I need to know you're hearing this. I need to know you understand that your presence here is not coincidence. It's divine appointment. And tomorrow night, I'm going to share with you what Jesus showed me in the second encounter, because he appeared to me again at the same lake, and what he revealed was even more shocking, even more urgent than what I'm sharing with you now. But for today, I just need you to sit with this truth. You are marked. You are called. You are here for a reason. Jesus is reaching out to you right now. Don't miss your moment. I barely slept that day. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, those tear-filled eyes, the weight of his grief. I saw the visions he'd shown me in the mist, the woman in the car, the young man in the dorm room, all those souls standing at crossroads, completely unaware that heaven itself had orchestrated their moment of decision. I spent the day in a fog, going through the motions. I couldn't eat. I tried to pray, but words felt inadequate. I kept checking my phone, reading the comments from people who'd watched the video, who'd typed, "I'm marked," in the comments. Thousands of them, each one a soul that Jesus had called by name. But I also saw the other comments, the skeptics, the mockers, the ones who said I was being dramatic, that I was using my platform from the chosen to manipulate people, that this was all just emotional manipulation. Those comments hurt, but they also confirmed what Jesus had shown me. Not everyone would receive this message. Not everyone was meant to. As the day wore on, I felt the pull again, that same urgency that had driven me to the lake at 2:47 a.m. the previous night. I looked at the clock, 9:47 p.m. Too early, but I couldn't stay in my house. I grabbed my jacket, a heavier one this time, and drove to the lake. When I arrived at 10:30 p.m., the scene was completely different from the pre-dawn darkness of the night before. The moon was nearly full, hanging low and enormous over the water, painting everything in silver light. The mist was already rising, thicker than before, creating layers of white that hovered over the lake's surface like a blanket. The temperature had dropped. It had to be around 28 degrees, and frost was forming on the dock's wooden railings. I could see my breath in thick clouds. The cold bit at my exposed skin, making my ears ache and my nose run. I pulled my jacket tighter and walked down to the dock, my boots crunching on frost-covered grass, then echoing on the wooden planks. The lake was perfectly still, a dark mirror reflecting the moon and stars. The mist moved slowly, gracefully, like a living thing. Pine trees on the distant shore stood like sentinels, their branches heavy with the day's earlier snowfall. An owl hooted somewhere in the darkness, and I heard the splash of a fish breaking the surface. I stood at the end of the dock, the same spot as before, and waited. The cold was intense. My fingers were going numb despite my gloves. My toes ached in my boots. I shifted from foot to foot, trying to keep warm, watching my breath create clouds that merged with the mist. "I'm here, Lord," I whispered. I came back. For a long moment, nothing happened. Just the cold, the mist, the moonlight. I began to wonder if I'd misunderstood, if maybe the previous night had been a one-time encounter, if maybe... The temperature shifted. It didn't get warmer exactly, but the cold changed quality, became less hostile, more like a presence. The mist began to move with purpose, swirling, gathering, and that same golden light began to glow from within it. But this time, it was different. This time, the light was brighter, more intense. And when Jesus appeared, he wasn't standing on the water. He was standing right beside me on the dock, so close I could have reached out and touched him. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice carried such weight that I fell to my knees immediately. "Lord," I breathed. He knelt beside me, his hand on my shoulder, and I felt that same radiating warmth. But his face was even more grief-stricken than before. The tears flowed freely, and his whole body trembled with the force of his emotion. "Do you know what breaks my heart most?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I shook my head, unable to speak. "It's not that they don't know I'm calling them," he said. "It's that they think they have time. They think they can respond later. They think this moment, this divine appointment, is just one of many, that there will always be another chance, another opportunity, another moment when I reach out to them." He stood, pulling me to my feet, and gestured out over the lake. The mist began to shimmer again, and visions appeared, but these were different from the night before. These were more detailed, more specific, more devastating. "Watch," he said. In the mist, I saw a man, maybe in his 40s, sitting in a church pew. He was listening to a sermon, and I could sense the Holy Spirit moving on his heart, calling him to surrender, to let go of a secret sin he'd been carrying for years. The moment was there, the window was open, but he looked at his watch, thought about the football game he wanted to get home to watch, and decided he'd deal with it later. He'd respond next week. He never did, Jesus said softly. Next week, his heart was harder. The window had closed. He spent the next 15 years in bondage to that sin, and it destroyed his marriage, his relationship with his children, his health. All because he thought he had time. The vision shifted. A young woman, maybe 19 or 20, at a Christian conference. She was in a worship service, and I could see the presence of God so thick around her it was almost visible. She was on the verge of a breakthrough, a moment of complete surrender that would have launched her into her destiny. But she looked around at her friends, worried about what they'd think if she went forward, if she responded too emotionally. She decided to wait, to process it privately later. She never did, Jesus said, his voice breaking. The moment passed. The anointing lifted. She spent the next decade trying to recapture what she felt in that moment, but it was gone. She had missed her Kairos time. Vision after vision played out in the mist, each one more heartbreaking than the last. A businessman who felt called to give a large donation to a ministry, but decided to wait until after his next bonus. The ministry closed before he could give, and the opportunity was lost forever. A teenager who felt prompted to share the gospel with a friend but was too embarrassed. The friend died in a car accident 2 weeks later. A pastor who felt called to preach a specific message but changed it at the last minute because he was worried about offending people. Someone in the congregation that day was supposed to hear that message. It would have saved their life, but they never heard it, and they took their own life 3 days later. "Stop," I gasped, tears streaming down my face. "Please, Lord, I can't." "You have to see," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "You have to understand what's at stake, because the people watching this right now, they're in their moment. Their window is open, and most of them are thinking the same thing all these people thought. I'll respond later. I'll deal with this tomorrow. I'll take it seriously next time. He turned to me, gripping both my shoulders now, his eyes boring into mine. But there might not be a next time, Jonathan. There might not be a tomorrow, not because I'm not merciful. I am infinitely merciful. Not because I don't give second chances. I give countless chances. But because there are seasons, there are appointed times, there are moments when heaven and earth align, when the veil is thin, when my spirit moves in a special way, and those moments don't last forever. The mist swirled around us more intensely now, and the temperature dropped even further. I could see frost forming on Jesus's hair, on his beard, though he didn't seem affected by the cold. The moon had risen higher, and its light created strange shadows in the mist. "Look at this lake," he said, gesturing to the water around us. "In the summer it's warm, inviting. People swim in it, boat on it, enjoy it. But in the winter it freezes solid. The same water, the same lake, but the season changes and what was once accessible becomes closed off. That's what happens with spiritual seasons. What is open now will not always be open." He walked to the edge of the dock, and I followed. The mist parted slightly, and I could see the dark water below reflecting the moonlight. "Do you know what the greatest tragedy in the kingdom of God is?" he asked. "What, Lord?" "It's not the people who never hear about me. I have ways of reaching them, ways you can't imagine. It's not even the people who openly reject me. At least they've made a conscious choice. The greatest tragedy is the people who hear my voice, who feel my call, who stand in their moment of divine appointment, and then walk away, thinking they'll come back later, thinking the door will always be open, thinking there will always be another chance." He turned to me, and the anguish on his face was almost unbearable to witness. "I'm not talking about salvation, Jonathan. I'm not talking about losing their eternal destiny, though even that is at stake for some. I'm talking about missing their purpose, missing their calling, missing the specific assignment I had for them in this generation. I'm talking about people who will get to heaven and realize they lived far below what I had planned for them, all because they missed their moment." A new vision appeared in the mist, and this one was different. I saw a man, older now, maybe in his 70s, sitting in a rocking chair, staring out a window. He was filled with regret, with the weight of what could have been, and I somehow knew his story. He'd been called to ministry in his 20s. He'd felt it clearly, unmistakably, but he'd been afraid. He'd wanted security. He'd decided to establish his career first, make some money, get stable, and then he'd pursue the call. But life happened. Marriage, kids, mortgage, promotions. The call got quieter. The window closed. And now, at the end of his life, he was haunted by the question, what if? He was supposed to be a voice to his generation, Jesus said quietly. He was supposed to write books that would have impacted millions. He was supposed to mentor young leaders who would have changed nations, but he missed his moment. And now his life is almost over, and all he has is regret. I was sobbing now, my whole body shaking, partly from the cold, partly from the weight of what I was seeing. "Lord, this is too much. This is too heavy." "It's heavy for me too," he said, and I saw fresh tears on his face. "Do you think I enjoy showing you this? Do you think I want to see my children miss their purpose? But they need to understand. The people watching this, they need to understand that this is not just another video. This is not just another message. This is me, personally, specifically, calling them to attention and saying, this is your moment. Don't miss it." He walked back to me and placed both hands on my face, forcing me to look at him. "Jonathan, I need you to tell them something. I need you to make this absolutely clear." "What, Lord?" "Tell them that I know their excuses. I know what they're thinking right now. Some of them are thinking, this is too emotional. This is manipulation. Some are thinking, I'll watch the rest later. I'll deal with this tomorrow. Some are thinking, this doesn't apply to me. I'm fine. My relationship with God is fine. And some are thinking, I'm too far gone. I've missed too many chances already. It's too late for me." He paused, his eyes searching mine. "Tell them they're wrong. All of them. Tell them that the very fact they're watching this, the very fact they've made it this far, it's proof that their window is still open. It's proof that I'm still calling. It's proof that this is their moment." The mist began to thin slightly, and I could see the first hints of dawn approaching, that subtle shift from deep night to the promise of morning. The stars were beginning to fade. The owl had gone silent. "But tell them this too," he continued, his voice taking on an edge of urgency. Tell them that windows don't stay open forever. Tell them that I'm showing you this over 3 nights for a reason, because 3 is the number of divine completion, of resurrection, of transformation. Tell them that by the third night they need to have made their decision. They need to have responded, because after that I can't guarantee their window will still be open. Lord, that sounds like pressure, like manipulation? He shook his head. No, Jonathan. It's truth. It's reality. It's how the spiritual realm works. There are seasons. There are appointed times. And I'm giving them fair warning. I'm not trying to scare them. I'm trying to save them. I'm trying to save them from a lifetime of regret, from missing what I have for them, from looking back and wondering what if. He released my face and stepped back. The golden light around him began to intensify, and I knew our time was ending. Tomorrow night, he said, come back one more time. There's one final thing I need to show you. One final revelation about why they're seeing this and what they need to do about it. I'll be here, Lord, I said. I know you will, he said, and for the first time I saw a slight smile on his face. You're one of the marked ones too, Jonathan. You think you're just the messenger, but you're also the message. You're also in your moment. You're also at a crossroads. What I'm showing you isn't just for them, it's for you too. And then he was gone. The mist dissipated quickly, pulled away by a cold wind that came across the lake. I stood alone on the dock, shivering violently now, my face wet with tears that were starting to freeze on my cheeks. The sky was lightening. Dawn was coming. I walked back to my car on shaking legs, my mind reeling from what I'd just witnessed. I sat in the driver's seat with the heater blasting, trying to warm up, trying to process everything. And I thought about what he'd said. You're also in your moment. He was right. I've been at a crossroads too. I've been wrestling with decisions about my career, about my platform, about how public to be with my faith. I've been afraid of being too bold, too controversial, too out there with what I believe. I've been worried about losing opportunities, about being labeled, about what people will think. But after what I've seen these past 2 nights, none of that matters anymore. Because I've seen what happens when people miss their moment. I've seen the regret, the lost potential, the wasted purpose, and I refuse to be one of those people. I refuse to get to the end of my life and wonder what if. So I'm telling you this even though I know some of you will think I'm crazy, even though I know some of you will unsubscribe, even though I know this might cost me opportunities. I'm telling you because Jesus asked me to, because he's weeping over you, because your window is open right now and he needs you to know it. Listen to me. Whatever you're facing right now, whatever decision you're wrestling with, whatever call you've been ignoring, this is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready or more worthy or more capable. Now, right now, this moment, I need you to do something for me. In the comments, I need you to type what you're facing, what decision you're wrestling with, what call you've been ignoring. Don't be vague, be specific, because there's power in confession. There's power in bringing things into the light. And I need you to commit to watching tomorrow night's video, because what Jesus is going to show me in the final encounter, it's going to give you the specific steps you need to take. It's going to give you the roadmap for responding to this moment, but you have to show up. You have to be willing to see it through. Some of you are thinking, I'll watch it eventually. I'll get to it when I have time. But that's exactly the mindset Jesus was warning against. That's exactly how people miss their moment. Don't be that person. Don't miss your moment. Tomorrow night, I'm going back to the lake one final time. And what Jesus shows me then, it's going to change everything. But for tonight, I just need you to sit with what I've shared. I need you to ask yourself, am I in my moment right now? Is Jesus calling me to something? Is there a decision I've been putting off? Is there a window that's open that I've been ignoring? Because if the answer is yes, and I believe for most of you watching this it is, then you need to understand that your window won't stay open forever. The lake freezes, the seasons change, the moment passes. Don't let that be your story. Type in the comments right now, I won't miss my moment. Just those 5 words. I won't miss my moment. And I'll see you tomorrow night for the final revelation. I didn't go home after the second encounter. I couldn't. The weight of what Jesus had shown me, the visions of missed moments, the faces of people haunted by regret, the devastating reality of closed windows, it was too much to carry alone. I sat in my car in that gravel parking lot as dawn broke over the lake, watching the sky transform from deep purple to pink to gold, and I wept. I wept for the man in the rocking chair who had missed his calling. I wept for the young woman at the conference who had let the moment pass. I wept for every person who would watch this message and scroll past thinking they had time. And I wept for myself because I realized how many moments I had almost missed, how many times I had heard God's voice and hesitated, how many windows I had almost let close. I spent that entire day in prayer and fasting. I didn't tell anyone what was happening. How could I explain it? I just knew that the third night was coming, and Jesus had said it would be the most intense, the final revelation, the complete picture of why people were seeing this message and what they needed to do about it. As the day wore on, I felt a growing sense of urgency, almost like dread, not fear of Jesus, never that, but fear of what he was going to show me, fear of the responsibility of carrying this message, fear that I wouldn't be able to communicate it clearly enough, urgently enough, powerfully enough. At 11:47 p.m., I got in my car and drove to the lake for the third time. The weather had changed dramatically. A storm was coming. I could feel it in the air, see it in the clouds that were rolling in from the west, obscuring the stars. The temperature had risen slightly, maybe to 35 degrees, but the wind had picked up, gusting across the lake in powerful bursts that sent waves crashing against the shore. When I reached the dock, the scene was almost violent compared to the previous nights. The water was no longer calm and mirror-like. It was churning, dark waves capped with white foam. The mist was still there, but it was being torn apart by the wind, creating ghostly shapes that appeared and disappeared in seconds. The dock itself was swaying slightly, creaking under the assault of the wind. I had to lean into the wind as I walked down to the end of the dock. My jacket whipped around me, and I could taste the moisture in the air. Rain was coming, or maybe snow. The clouds were so thick now that there was almost no light except for a faint glow on the horizon where the moon was trying to break through. The sound was overwhelming. The wind howling, the waves crashing, the dock groaning, the trees on the shore bending and swaying. I had to shout to hear my own voice. "Lord, I'm here. I came back." For a moment, nothing. Just the storm, growing more intense by the second. A wave crashed against the dock, sending spray over the edge, soaking my jeans. Another gust of wind nearly knocked me off my feet, and then silence. Complete, absolute silence. The wind stopped. The waves froze mid-crash. The creaking of the dock ceased. It was as if someone had hit a pause button on the entire world. Even my own breathing seemed muted, distant. The light came differently this time, not from the mist, not gradually building. It came all at once, a brilliant white light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, so bright I had to shield my eyes. And when I lowered my hand, Jesus was there, but he wasn't alone. He stood in the center of the dock, and around him I could see, I don't even know how to describe it, figures, presences, angels, I realized, beings of light that surrounded him, their forms shifting and shimmering. The air itself seemed to vibrate with power, and Jesus, his appearance was different, more intense, more glorious. His robe seemed to glow from within, and his eyes were like fire, burning with an intensity that made me fall flat on my face on the dock. "Jonathan!" His voice boomed, and it wasn't gentle this time. It was the voice of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Judge of all the earth. "Rise!" I struggled to my feet, my legs shaking so badly I could barely stand. I couldn't look directly at him. The glory was too intense. "Lord," I managed to whisper. "Tonight I show you the end of the matter," he said, and his voice carried such authority that I felt it in my bones. "Tonight I show you what happens to those who hear my call and refuse to respond, and I show you the glory that awaits those who seize their moment." He raised his hand, and the frozen waves around us began to move again, but not naturally. They rose up, forming walls of water on either side of the dock, creating a corridor. And in the water, I began to see images, visions, playing out like scenes in a movie. "Watch," he commanded. The first vision was of a church, a large modern building with a big parking lot. I saw it full of people, thousands of them, worshiping, learning, growing, and I saw a man standing at the pulpit preaching with power and anointing. Somehow I knew this was a vision of what could have been, the man in the rocking chair, if he had responded to his call in his 20s. This was his destiny, Jesus said, his voice heavy with grief. This was what I had prepared for him. He would have impacted a generation. He would have written books that would have changed lives. He would have mentored leaders who would have planted churches across the nation. But he said no. He said later, and later never came. The vision shifted, and I saw the same man, but in reality, sitting in that rocking chair, alone, filled with regret. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. I saw him standing before the judgment seat of Christ, and Jesus showing him this same vision, showing him what could have been. The man's face crumpled in anguish as he realized what he had missed. "I'm not talking about his salvation," Jesus said, reading my thoughts. "He is saved, he is mine, but he will spend eternity knowing he missed his purpose. He will see what could have been and realize he traded it for comfort, for security, for the approval of others." Lord, I couldn't finish. The grief was too overwhelming. "That's the reality of missed moments," he said firmly. "That's what I'm trying to save people from. Not just hell, though that is at stake for some, but from a wasted life, from a wasted purpose, from standing before me one day and realizing they had one life to live, one chance to fulfill their calling, and they let it slip away." The visions continued, one after another, each more devastating than the last. I saw the young woman from the conference, the one who had missed her moment of surrender. I saw her life play out, a life that wasn't bad, but wasn't what it could have been. She served God, she went to church, she was a good person, but she never stepped into the fullness of her calling. She never experienced the breakthrough that had been available to her in that moment, and I saw her, years later, still trying to recapture what she had felt that night, still searching for something she couldn't name, never realizing she had held it in her hands and let it go. I saw the businessman who had delayed his giving. The ministry he was supposed to support had closed, and with it, the opportunity to impact thousands of lives. I saw him prosper financially, but I also saw the emptiness in his eyes, the sense that something was missing, that his wealth meant nothing because it wasn't being used for the purpose God had intended. I saw the teenager who had been too embarrassed to share the gospel with his friend. I saw him at the funeral, racked with guilt, haunted by the question of whether his friend would have responded if he had just been brave enough to speak up. I saw him carry that guilt for decades, letting it poison his relationship with God, letting it rob him of joy and peace. Vision after vision, story after story, all of people who had heard God's call and said, later, all of them suffering the consequences of missed moments. "Enough," I shouted, falling to my knees again. "Please, Lord, I can't take any more." The vision stopped. The walls of water fell back into the lake with a tremendous crash. The silence returned, broken only by my sobbing. Jesus knelt beside me, and his hand on my shoulder was gentle again, warm, comforting. "I know it's hard," he said softly, "but they need to see. They need to understand what's at stake." "But Lord," I gasped, "you're a God of second chances. You're a God of mercy. Surely these people, surely they could have." "Of course they could have," he interrupted. "I gave them countless opportunities. I called them again and again. But Jonathan, there are some opportunities that only come once. There are some moments that are unique, unrepeatable. There are some windows that once closed never open again in quite the same way." He helped me to my feet and turned me to face the lake. The storm clouds were breaking up now, and I could see stars beginning to appear. The wind had calmed to a gentle breeze. "But I don't want you to think this is all about judgment and loss," he said, and I heard a note of joy in his voice for the first time that night. "I want to show you the other side. I want to show you what happens when people seize their moment." He raised his hand again, and the water began to glow with golden light. New visions appeared, but these were different. These were filled with light, with joy, with purpose fulfilled. I saw a young man, maybe 25, standing in front of a small group of people in what looked like a living room. He was nervous, his hands shaking as he held a Bible, but he was teaching. And I could see the anointing on him, the presence of God in that room. Somehow I knew his story. He had felt called to ministry, and instead of waiting, instead of making excuses, he had said yes immediately. He had started small with a Bible study in his apartment. But from that small beginning, I saw his ministry grow. I saw him planting churches, training leaders, impacting nations. "He seized his moment," Jesus said, his voice filled with pride. "When I called, he answered. When I said go, he went. And look at the fruit. Look at the lives changed. Look at the kingdom impact." I saw a woman, middle-aged, ordinary-looking, sitting with another woman in a coffee shop. They were praying together, and I could see the Holy Spirit moving powerfully. The second woman was weeping, experiencing breakthrough. freedom from something that had bound her for years. And I knew the first woman's story. She had felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to reach out to this person, to invite her for coffee, to pray with her. It would have been easy to ignore the prompting, to make excuses, to say, maybe later. But she had obeyed immediately, and that one act of obedience had set in motion a chain of events that would impact generations. She seized her moment, Jesus said, and because she did, this other woman found freedom, and that woman went on to help others find freedom, and those others helped still more. One moment of obedience, one seized opportunity, and the ripple effects go on forever. Vision after vision of people who had said yes, people who had seized their moments, people who had responded when God called, who had obeyed when He prompted, who had stepped through the open windows instead of waiting for a more convenient time. And the fruit was glorious. Lives changed, families restored, ministries launched, books written, businesses started, marriages saved, prodigals returned, addictions broken, destinies fulfilled. This is what I want, Jesus said, His voice passionate. This is what I'm calling people to. Not a life of regret, but a life of purpose. Not missed opportunities, but seized moments. Not closed windows, but bold steps through open doors. He turned to me, and the fire in his eyes had softened to a warm glow. Jonathan, do you understand now why I brought you here? Why I showed you all of this? I think so, Lord, I said. You want me to tell people. I want you to tell them that they're standing at a crossroads right now, he interrupted. Every person watching this message, they're in their moment. Their window is open, and they have a choice to make. Will they seize it, or will they let it pass? He walked to the edge of the dock and looked out over the lake. The storm clouds had cleared completely now, and the sky was filled with stars, more stars than I had ever seen, brilliant and countless. The water reflected them, creating the illusion of standing in the middle of the cosmos. Tell them this, he said, his back still to me. Tell them that I know their fears. I know they feel inadequate. I know they think they're not ready, not worthy, not capable. I know they're worried about what others will think, about failing, about looking foolish. He turned back to me, and his face was filled with such love, such compassion, that I started crying again. But tell them that I don't call the equipped, I equip the called. Tell them that every person I've ever used in history felt inadequate. Moses stuttered. David was a shepherd boy. Peter was impulsive and uneducated. Paul was a murderer. But when they said yes to their moment, when they seized their opportunity, I did the rest. I provided the strength, the wisdom, the resources, the anointing. All they had to do was say yes. The angels that had been surrounding him began to move, circling the dock, and I could hear them, not with my ears, but with my spirit, singing. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, harmonies that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of creation. Tell them about the 30-day challenge, Jesus said, his voice cutting through the angelic song. Tell them that if they'll commit to 30 days, just 30 days, of seeking me first, of putting me above everything else, of saying yes to every prompting of my spirit, I will confirm their calling. I will open doors they never imagined. I will show them their purpose. I will launch them into their destiny. 30 days, I repeated. 30 days, he confirmed, starting from the moment they finish watching this message. 30 days of radical obedience, 30 days of putting me first, 30 days of saying yes instead of later. He walked toward me, and the angels parted to let him through. He placed both hands on my shoulders and looked directly into my eyes. But tell them this too, Jonathan. Tell them that this offer has an expiration date. Tell them that I'm extending this invitation now in this moment, but I can't guarantee it will be available forever. Tell them that by February 25th, 2026, 30 days from the date of this message, they need to have made their decision. They need to have started their 30-day journey. Because after that, the season shifts, the window closes, and while I will always love them, while I will always be available for relationship, this specific opportunity, this specific calling may not be available again. Lord, that sounds like an ultimatum? He shook his head. No, Jonathan, it's a reality. It's how the kingdom works. There are seasons and times. There are moments of visitation, and I'm giving them fair warning. I'm not trying to manipulate them. I'm trying to save them from regret. I'm trying to save them from missing what I have for them. He released my shoulders and stepped back. The golden light around him began to intensify, and I knew our time was ending. Tomorrow, today actually, since it's past midnight, you'll share this final message. You'll tell them everything I've shown you. You'll give them the 30-day challenge. You'll warn them about the deadline. And then, Jonathan, you'll let them choose. What if they don't respond? I asked, my voice breaking. What if they watch all of this and still say no? His face filled with grief again, and fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. Then they'll join the countless others who have missed their moment, and I'll weep for them, as I've wept for all the others, but I won't force them. I never force anyone. I call, I invite, I plead, but I don't force. He began to fade, the light growing brighter and brighter until I had to close my eyes. But I heard his final words, spoken directly into my spirit. Tell them I love them. Tell them I'm calling them. Tell them their moment is now. And tell them not to make me weep for them too. And then he was gone. The storm returned instantly. The wind, the waves, the darkness. But it felt different now, less threatening, more like a cleansing. Rain began to fall, cold and hard, soaking me within seconds. Lightning flashed in the distance, and thunder rolled across the lake. I stood there in the rain, my face turned up to the sky, letting the water wash over me. I don't know how long I stayed there. Long enough to be completely drenched, long enough for the storm to pass and the sky to begin lightening with the approach of dawn. When I finally walked back to my car, I was shaking, not from cold, but from the weight of what I'd witnessed. I had seen the consequences of missed moments and the glory of seized opportunities. I had heard the heart of God for his people. I had been given a message that could change lives, if people would receive it. Now I'm sharing it with you. Everything I've told you over these 3 nights, it's real. It happened. Jesus appeared to me at that lakeside, and he showed me why you're seeing this message. He showed me that you're at a crossroads. He showed me that your window is open, and he gave me a message to deliver to you. This is your moment. Don't miss it. In the comments right now, I need you to type, I accept the challenge. Just those 4 words, I accept the challenge. Because tomorrow, in the final part of this message, I'm going to give you the specific practical steps for the 30-day challenge. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do, how to structure your days, how to hear God's voice, how to step into your calling. But you have to commit. You have to decide right now that you're not going to be one of the people who misses their moment. You have to decide that you're going to seize this opportunity, no matter what it costs, no matter how uncomfortable it feels, no matter what others think, because Jesus is calling you. He's marked you. He's brought you to this message for a reason. Don't make him weep for you too. Type, I accept the challenge in the comments right now, and I'll see you for the final part tomorrow. Your moment is now. Don't miss it. I'm writing this from the same lakeside where Jesus appeared to me 3 nights in a row. It's different now. It's 2 p.m. on a clear, cold afternoon. The sun is shining on the water, creating diamonds of light that dance across the surface. Families are here. I can hear children laughing in the distance, see a couple walking their dog along the shore. Everything looks so normal, so ordinary. But I know what happened here. I know what I witnessed on this dock. And every time I look at this lake now, I don't just see water and trees and sky. I see the visions Jesus showed me. I see the faces of people who missed their moments. I see the glory of those who seized their opportunities. And I see you. Because Jesus showed me your face too. Not literally, I don't know what you look like. But I saw you in the spirit. I saw you sitting where you are right now, watching this message, standing at your crossroads. And I saw 2 possible futures for you. One where you respond to this moment, and one where you don't. I need to tell you about both. But first, I need to address something. Over the past 3 days, as I've shared these encounters, I've read your comments, thousands of them, and I've seen 3 types of responses. The first group, and this is the largest, are those who typed, I'm marked, or I won't miss my moment, or I accept the challenge. You felt the weight of this message. You recognized that God was speaking to you. You sensed that this wasn't just another video, that something significant was happening. If that's you, stay with me. What I'm about to share is specifically for you. The second group are the skeptics. You've commented that this is emotional manipulation, that I'm using my platform from the chosen to exploit people, that there's no way Jesus actually appeared to me. And I understand your skepticism, I really do. If someone had told me a week ago that Jesus would appear to me 3 nights in a row at a lakeside, I might have been skeptical too, but I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to ask God yourself. I'm asking you to pray and say, God, if this message is from you, confirm it to me. Because if it is from him, and I know it is, he'll confirm it. He'll give you a sign, a word, a knowing in your spirit that this is real. The third group are those who watched and felt something, but you're paralyzed by fear. You want to respond, but you're terrified. You're thinking, what if I commit to this and fail? What if I'm not strong enough? What if God asks me to do something I can't do? If that's you, I need you to hear this. Your fear is proof that this is real. The enemy doesn't attack things that don't matter. He doesn't try to paralyze you over insignificant decisions. Your fear is actually confirmation that you're on the verge of something significant, something that threatens the kingdom of darkness. So don't let fear win. Don't let it rob you of your moment. Now let me tell you what Jesus showed me about your two possible futures. I came back to the lake this afternoon because I needed to see it in daylight, needed to process everything that had happened. I sat on this dock for hours, praying, journaling, asking God for clarity about how to communicate what he'd shown me. And as I sat here, he gave me two more visions. But these were about you. In the first vision, I saw you 30 days from now. You had accepted the challenge. You had committed to the 30-day journey of radical obedience, of seeking God first, of saying yes to every prompting of his Spirit. And I saw the transformation. Your face was different. There was a light in your eyes, a confidence, a peace that hadn't been there before. I saw you walking in your calling, stepping into opportunities you never imagined, impacting lives in ways you never thought possible. I saw doors opening, provision flowing, relationships being restored. I saw you looking back on this moment, this exact moment when you're watching this message and thanking God that you didn't let it pass, that you seized your moment. But then he showed me the second vision, and this one broke my heart. I saw you 6 months from now. You had watched this message, felt the conviction, sensed God calling you, but you had said later. You had let the moment pass, and I saw you going through the motions of life, but there was a heaviness on you, a sense of something missing. You couldn't quite put your finger on it, but you felt it, a nagging sense that you had missed something important. I saw you trying to recapture what you felt when you first watched this message, but it was gone. The window had closed, the season had shifted, and while God still loved you, while you were still his child, that specific opportunity, that specific calling was no longer available in the same way. Which future do you want? Jesus asked me as I sat on this dock. Which future will they choose? And that's the question I'm asking you now. Which future do you want? Because it's entirely up to you. God has done his part. He's called you. He's marked you. He's brought you to this message. He's opened the window, but he won't force you through it. He won't make you respond. The choice is yours. So let me give you the practical steps. Let me tell you exactly what the 30-day challenge looks like. The 30-day challenge. Practical steps. Starting today, right now, the moment you finish watching this message, you're going to commit to 30 days of radical obedience to God. Here's what that looks like specifically. 1. Morning encounter. 30 minutes minimum. Every single morning before you do anything else. Before you check your phone. Before you scroll social media. Before you turn on the TV. You're going to spend at least 30 minutes with God. Not at God. Not talking at him, but with him. This is a two-way conversation. Here's the structure. 10 minutes of worship. Put on worship music and actually worship. Don't just listen. 10 minutes of reading scripture. Start with the Gospel of John, 1 chapter per day. 10 minutes of listening prayer. Sit in silence and ask God, what do you want to say to me today? I know what you're thinking. I'm not a morning person, or I don't have 30 minutes, or I've tried this before and failed. But here's the truth. You have time for what you prioritize. You have 30 minutes. You just spend it on other things. And this 30-day challenge is about reordering your priorities, about putting God first, not just in theory, but in practice. 2. Immediate obedience. Throughout each day, you're going to practice immediate obedience to every prompting of the Holy Spirit, every single one, no matter how small, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how inconvenient. If you feel prompted to text someone an encouragement, do it immediately. If you feel prompted to give money to someone, do it immediately. If you feel prompted to apologize for something, do it immediately. If you feel prompted to pray for someone, do it immediately. If you feel prompted to share the gospel, do it immediately. No more, I'll do it later. No more, let me think about it. No more, that's probably not God. If you sense a prompting, you obey immediately. This is how you develop sensitivity to God's voice. This is how you learn to recognize his leading. This is how you step into your calling. 3. Evening reflection. 15 minutes. Every evening, before you go to bed, you're going to spend 15 minutes reflecting on the day. Get a journal, physical or digital, and answer these three questions. Where did I sense God's presence today? What promptings did I obey, and what were the results? What promptings did I ignore or delay, and why? This reflection time is crucial because it helps you recognize patterns, identify areas of resistance, and celebrate victories. It keeps you accountable and helps you track your growth. 4. Weekly fasting. One day each week, you're going to fast from something. It doesn't have to be food, though it can be. It could be social media, TV, video games, shopping, whatever tends to consume your time and attention. The point is to create space for God, to break the power of habits and addictions, to demonstrate that He's more important than your comfort. On your fasting day, use the time you would have spent on that thing to pray, to read scripture, to listen to God. Let the hunger or the craving remind you to turn your attention to Him. 5. Community accountability. You're not doing this alone. In the comments of this video, you're going to find others who have accepted the challenge. Connect with them, share your journey, encourage each other, hold each other accountable. And I want you to report back every week. Come back to this video and leave a comment updating us on your journey. Tell us what God is doing. Tell us what doors are opening. Tell us what you're learning. Your testimony will encourage others and keep you accountable. The deadline, February 25th, 2026. Now here's the part that's going to sound harsh, but I have to say it because Jesus told me to. You need to start this challenge by February 25th, 2026. That's 30 days from the date of this message. Why the deadline? Because that's how spiritual seasons work. There are windows of opportunity, and those windows don't stay open indefinitely. Jesus is extending this invitation now in this season, but He can't guarantee it will be available in the same way after that date. I'm not saying God will stop loving you. I'm not saying you'll lose your salvation. I'm not saying you can never pursue your calling, but I am saying that this specific opportunity, this specific moment of visitation, has an expiration date. And if you let it pass, you may spend years trying to recapture what was available to you right now. Think about it. How many times have you felt God calling you to something and said later, only to find that the opportunity was gone? How many times have you sensed His prompting and delayed, only to discover that the moment had passed? Don't let that happen again. Don't let February 25th come and go with you, still sitting on the fence, still thinking about it, still waiting for a more convenient time. What happens after 30 days? Some of you are wondering, okay, I do the 30 days, then what? Here's what Jesus showed me. The 30 days aren't the destination, they're the launching pad. They're the preparation for what comes next. Because during those 30 days, God is going to do several things. First, He's going to confirm your calling. You're going to get clarity about what He's created you to do, what specific assignment He has for you in this season. It might come through a dream, a vision, a word from someone else, or just a deep knowing in your spirit. But you will know. Second, He's going to begin opening doors. You're going to see opportunities appear that weren't there before. You're going to meet people who can help you. You're going to discover resources you didn't know existed. Things are going to start aligning in ways that can only be explained as divine orchestration. Third, He's going to transform you from the inside out. Your desires will change. Your priorities will shift. Things that used to consume your attention will lose their appeal. You'll find yourself hungry for more of God, more of His presence, more of His purpose. And fourth, He's going to give you your next steps. By the end of the 30 days, you'll know exactly what to do next. You'll have a clear roadmap for moving forward into your calling, but you have to complete the 30 days. You have to commit fully. You can't do it halfway and expect full results. My personal commitment. I want you to know that I'm doing this challenge too. Even though Jesus appeared to me, even though I received these visions, I'm still at a crossroads. I still have decisions to make about my career, my platform, my level of boldness in sharing my faith. So I'm committing to the same 30-day challenge I'm asking you to do. I'm going to spend 30 minutes every morning with God. I'm going to practice immediate obedience to every prompting. I'm going to reflect every evening. I'm going to fast weekly, and I'm going to report back to you. In fact, I'm going to post updates on my social media throughout the 30 days, sharing what God is doing, what I'm learning, what doors are opening. I want you to see that this is real, that I'm not just preaching something I'm not willing to practice, and I'm inviting you to join me. Let's do this together. Let's be a community of people who refuse to miss their moment, who seize their opportunities, who say yes to God no matter what it costs. Addressing your specific fears. Before I close, I want to address some specific fears that I know many of you are feeling right now. What if I fail? You probably will at some point during the 30 days. You'll miss a morning, you'll ignore a prompting, you'll skip your evening reflection, and that's okay. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. If you mess up, you don't quit. You confess it, you receive God's grace, and you start again the next day. The enemy wants you to think that one failure means total failure, but that's a lie. God is more interested in your heart than your performance. What if God asks me to do something I can't do? He will. That's the whole point. God specializes in asking people to do things they can't do in their own strength, because that's how he gets the glory. But here's the secret. He never asks you to do something without giving you the power to do it. When he calls, he equips. When he sends, he provides. Your job is to say yes and take the first step. His job is to do the impossible. What if people think I'm crazy? They might. In fact, they probably will. When you start living radically for God, when you start obeying promptings that don't make logical sense, when you start prioritizing him above everything else, people will notice. Some will be inspired, others will be threatened, some will mock, others will question your sanity. But here's what Jesus told me: the approval of man or the approval of God, you can't have both. Choose. What if I'm too far gone? What if I've missed too many opportunities already? This is the lie the enemy wants you to believe more than any other. He wants you to think it's too late, that you've blown it, that God has given up on you. But it's not true. The very fact that you're watching this message, the very fact that you've made it this far, is proof that God hasn't given up on you. This is him reaching out one more time, saying, "It's not too late. Your window is still open. Come back to me." What if this is just emotional manipulation? Then test it. Do the 30 days and see what happens. If this is just manipulation, if this isn't really from God, then nothing will change. You'll waste 30 days and you can move on. But if this is real, and I know it is, then your life will never be the same. You'll look back on this moment as the turning point, the moment when everything changed. Isn't it worth 30 days to find out? The two paths. I'm standing on this dock right now, looking out over the lake, and I'm thinking about the two paths that lie before you. Path 1, you finish watching this message and you feel moved, you feel convicted, you sense God calling you. But then life happens. You get distracted. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow or next week or when things calm down. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. And one day you remember this message and you realize with a sinking feeling that your moment has passed. The window is closed and you're left with that haunting question: what if? Path 2, you finish watching this message and you make a decision. Right now in this moment, you say yes. You commit to the 30-day challenge. You start tomorrow morning with your 30-minute encounter with God. And yes, it's hard. Yes, there are days when you don't feel like it. Yes, there are moments when you want to quit, but you push through. And by day 30, you're a different person. You have clarity about your calling. Doors are opening. Your life is transforming. And you look back on this moment with gratitude, knowing that this was the turning point. Which path will you choose? Final words from Jesus. As I sat on this dock this afternoon, processing everything, preparing to share this final message with you, Jesus spoke to me one more time, not in a vision, not in an appearance, but in that still, small voice that speaks directly to your spirit. He said, "Tell them I'm proud of them for making it this far. Tell them that the fact they've watched all 4 parts of this message is already evidence of my hand on their life. Tell them I see their fear, their doubt, their hesitation, and I love them anyway. Tell them I'm not angry with them for their past failures. Tell them I'm not disappointed in them for their weaknesses. Tell them I'm inviting them into something beautiful, something significant, something that will bring them more joy and fulfillment than they can imagine. And tell them that I'm waiting. I'm standing at the door of their heart, knocking, waiting for them to open it fully and let me in. Tell them not to make me wait any longer." So that's what I'm telling you. Jesus is waiting. Your moment is now. The window is open. What will you do? Your next steps. Do this right now. In the comments below, type "I commit" and today's date. This is your public declaration that you're accepting the 30-day challenge. Set an alarm on your phone for tomorrow morning, 30 minutes earlier than you usually wake up. Label it God First. Get a journal, physical or digital, for your evening reflections. Choose your weekly fasting day and put it in your calendar. Find at least one other person in the comments who is committed and connect with them for accountability. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you can see my updates throughout the 30 days. Share this video with someone else who needs to hear this message. Don't let them miss their moment either. I need to tell you about one last vision Jesus gave me. As I was sitting on this dock this afternoon, the sun starting to lower toward the horizon, he showed me a picture of you, not you specifically, but all of you who are watching this message, who are feeling the call, who are standing at your crossroads. I saw you gathered together, thousands of you from all over the world, different ages, different backgrounds, different circumstances, but all marked by God for this moment. And I saw you taking a step forward, together saying yes to the challenge, committing to the 30 days. And as you stepped forward, I saw heaven respond. I saw angels being dispatched. I saw doors beginning to open. I saw chains breaking. I saw darkness fleeing. I saw the kingdom of God advancing. And I heard the sound of heaven rejoicing. Because every time someone says yes to God, every time someone seizes their moment instead of letting it pass, every time someone chooses obedience over comfort, heaven celebrates. And Jesus smiled. That's the vision I want to leave you with. Not fear, not pressure, not guilt, but hope. The hope of what happens when God's people say yes. The hope of what happens when windows are walked through instead of closed. The hope of what happens when moments are seized instead of missed. The sun is setting now over this lake. The water is turning gold, then orange, then deep purple. The temperature is dropping. Soon it will be dark, and I'll drive home, and this chapter will close. But for you, a new chapter is beginning. You came to this message for a reason, not by accident, not by coincidence, but by divine appointment. Jesus called you here. He marked you. He opened your window. Now it's your turn to respond. 30 days. That's all I'm asking. 30 days of saying yes to God, of putting Him first, of radical obedience. And I promise you that if you do this, if you commit fully, if you don't quit when it gets hard, your life will never be the same. February 25th, 2026. That's your deadline to start. Don't miss your moment. Don't make Jesus weep for you. Don't spend the rest of your life wondering what if. Say yes, right now. Type I commit in the comments, and let's change the world together. I'll see you on the other side of your 30 days. God bless you. And remember, you're marked. Your moment is now. Don't miss it.